to make the best decisions that we are able to for our town of Fairview. We seek your blessings in all that we do. Please hear our prayers. Amen.
Would please stand as we pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, under item number 4, we talked about agenda changes. So we are changing one thing on the agenda. If you'll go over to page 2, you'll see number 7. That will be a presentation by Colby Watson. He's running to represent North Carolina's 8th District in Congress. That has been deleted from the agenda. And a little background is we had checked just to be sure as far as how it impacts different municipalities, if we could have people come in and do that. And according to our attorney, that based upon, we're kind of using Indian Trails example, but we really can't allow that to happen. So, and we've got that. We have to contact someone to come next month. Something else to that, and we'll have to contact them. That based upon under advice of attorney, just to be fair, and we basically bottom line is we can't spend public funds to let somebody come in and speak.
That's right.
So that being said, I need a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, show of with your hand. Motion passes. Item number 5, if you would, I'll need a motion and as part of this and looking through the items that are on the consent agenda. Did anybody have a chance to go through back and look at the dates and stuff, any conflicts? Did you notice the dates for next year?
I didn't know.
I didn't see any conflicts.
Okay. And also, and the other thing was the Fairview Community Room policy. I'll get a chance to look at that and see if anything you need to add or change to that.
I did not see anything I thought needed to be changed.
Okay. With that being said, I need a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as printed.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? Okay, so with your hand. Okay. Moving on, we are now at item number 6. Do we have any public?
Oh, I'm sorry. Public comments?
Oh.
No, we have none.
We have no public comment. Okay,
I'm sorry. I thought you were somewhere else.
Huh?
I thought you were somewhere else.
Okay, now I'm down to number 7. We just deleted in our, when we did the agenda. Okay, under items of business, do we want to wait or do Patricia now?
No, we'll do Patricia and I'll do him later.
Okay, so and you can do that separately.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So number 8 will be the installation of Patricia Kinley as our newly elected council member. So you want to have her come up front?
No, we can do it right in her
Okay.
place.
Okay.
If she'll just put her left hand on the Bible and raise her right hand and repeat after Spencer. Spencer.
Patricia Kinley, do solemnly swear
I, Patricia Kinley, do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain the Constitution
that I will support and maintain the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therefore,
not inconsistent, therefore,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of my office as councilwoman
of my office as councilwoman
for the town of Fairview, so help me God.
for the town of Fairview, so help me God.
Thank you for agreeing to do that.
Congratulations too, by the
Back
way.
on board.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have The next item will be 8B, and the item for business will be for Neil, for event with JP Watson Company for as our town audit. And Daryl, are you involved with this with her? We can turn it over to her.
She pretty much handles it.
I
What
can
do you mean?
handle
We
that.
talked, we'll turn it over to Daryl, her.
What? So I didn't know if they had some kind of,
No, she's basically giving a report on what I did.
We pay her a lot of money to do
Right, so thank you for having me tonight. I guess you don't have an option, I have to present the audit to you, but thank you anyway. Thank you for choosing us as the audit firm for the town of Fairview. You have wonderful staff here and we enjoy working with them. If you, we'll try to go through this quickly. If you're like me, you've got 5 million things to do tonight between now and the end of the year. If you'll flip through your financial statements until you see our letterhead. Do you all have a copy of it? No. Do we have a copy of it?
Here,
some of the
here.
packet.
If you'll hand it to
The
her,
financial statements. And we got that here.
or I can't get up.
Sorry, Dan. No, you're good. When you contract with us to audit the town, you're actually contracting with us to audit your financial statements, not the town, not your transactions, and that your financial statements are materially correct. And so that's what this opinion is. Independent auditor's report is referred to as an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion, which means in our opinion, your financial statements are materially correct. If you turn to the third page of the letter, right above our signature, there is an extra paragraph in there this year. It's not in there every year. Any year you spend more than $100,000 in federal and or state grant dollars, then we audit your town in accordance with government auditing standards, in addition to generally accepted auditing standards, which I've told you in the past. I think there are kind of 3 levels. One is an audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. Then there's an audit in accordance with government auditing standards if you spend more than $100,000 in grant funds. And then there's another tier you can add to that if you spend additional grant dollars. So in the past, up through this year that we've audited, June 30, 25, if you spent $750,000 in federal grant dollars or $500,000 in state grant dollars, you have what was referred to as a single audit. You did not reach that level this year. And I do want to let you know that there are new guidelines for the coming year, the year you're in now, and that will be $1 million. So you will not have to have a single audit unless you spend $1 million in federal or $1 million in state. This year you did spend a little more than $100,000, so you do have to have that audit in accordance with government auditing standards. The next section is the management discussion and analysis. This is a summary. It's a quick analysis of the last town, and so this is your 24-25 year, not the year you're in now. It's prepared by management. We do not audit this. We're not required to. This is required supplementary information, but we don't actually audit it. We do read it. We do work with Daryl to prepare this, and we make sure that it does not conflict with anything in the financial statements. The actual financial statements that we audit begin on Exhibit 1, page 1. And I'll run through this quickly like I do every year, just kind of give you a roadmap. Exhibit 1 is the balance sheet of the town. It's all funds, your general fund, your 2 grant funds. It's on the accrual basis, so it includes capital assets and all liabilities. The only thing that's different for you this year, you had this last year and you got it again this year. You have restricted cash and cash equivalents of $264,000. That's your unspent SCIF money, your 2 grants. You still had as of June 30th about $264,000. And then down at the bottom of that page, net position, you'll see restricted for capital projects, and that's around $64,000. That's not the same as the cash because you had some accounts payable at year end. You already had some liabilities that had been booked for those 2 grant projects. The next schedule, Exhibit 2, the odd landscape one. As I've told you in the past, GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, wanted you to show basically what your taxes pay for. So it lists the expenses by function first, then what you charge to provide those services, or what operating or capital grants you might have received to cover those services you provide to the public. And if you look at that far right column, you'll see all those numbers are negative because truly those costs are covered by your property taxes and your local option sales tax, basically. What is different for you this year here at Fairview is the change in net position is a negative number of $73,850. That's pretty rare for y'all, but that is because you had received the SCIF grant of $250,000 in the previous year. You didn't spend some of that money until this year. So it's not a red flag, just remember you had the revenue in the prior year to cover some of those costs. The next schedule is Exhibit 3-1 on page 3. From Exhibit 3-1 to Exhibit 5, these are on your budget basis. It's more like what you see from Darrell each month. There's a column for your general fund and a column for each of your grant funds. This is very similar to what you've had in the past. And I just would remind you, down under fund balance, under committed for park, that $46,902, that is money that you approved, I think maybe 21, 22, 22, 23, to set aside the rent to be used for needs of the park. So that's your rent reserve that's in that amount. Exhibit 4-1, 2 pages over. These are your revenues and expenditures for all three funds, general and each grant fund. It's in summary form, the details at the back. And this just shows you your revenues for each of these, your expenditures for each of these, what you paid for debt service, you pay off your note, your capital outlay that's in the project funds. And again, you've got revenues under expenditures in all three funds, which is really odd for Fairview. There are reasons. The two grant projects, you received the $250,000 in the previous year. You're expending it this year. And then the general fund, you upped your capital outlay. You had some improvements at the rental house, park, town hall. You increased your budget for park maintenance and for park payroll. So that contributed to that use of fund balance this year. You're not used to seeing that as a negative number. Exhibit 5 on page 7 is just the general fund. So it shows your original budget as you approved it the previous June, your final budget reflecting all amendments you made during the year, your actual amount, and then any variance. And I would point out, you approved, if needed, to spend around $93,000 in fund balance, but you only spent $40,000. So that's always good. Your notes begin on page 8. Page 8 through page 13 are your significant accounting policies. There were no changes from the previous year. You had no new policies, no new funds. The only thing that probably came out from these pages is you did have a note in the previous year dealing with your ARPA money, the COVID money that you had received, because you had to state how much you had received and if you had spent it and were you going to meet all the grant requirements by December 31st, 2026. You had expended all of that the previous year, so that note has been removed this year. Your detailed notes begin on page 14. There's information on your cash, on your investments. You have around $511,000 invested with North Carolina Capital Management. Your capital asset detail is on page 15. On page 16, at the bottom, you are required to disclose your commitments. So you did have outstanding contracts still with Banesh and Rushing for the design and the improvements at the park for the amphitheater. And you also had a contract with In Focus for your Unified Development Ordinance. And then there's always a note about potential lawsuits. This is the same note we've had in there in the past, but I just wanted you to know that this covers any lawsuits the town may be involved in. Based on what the attorneys have represented to us and management, any lawsuits you may be involved in and are involved in as of June 30th through the date of this report should not have any significant impact on the financial statement. So that note is there at the bottom of 16. Page 17 gives you information on the note that you do have that you're paying on annually. And then the detail schedules begin on page 19. So this gives you a little bit more information about your general fund starting on page 19. I would point out that your investment earnings are up about $4,000 from the previous year. If you look on page 20, you'll see your capital outlay for office renovation and the rental house. That's up more than in previous years. Page 21, you'll see that your park maintenance and payroll expenses went up and you had some capital outlay for the park. That just gives you a little bit more detail of what happened in the general fund last year. Your project funds are on page 22 and page 23. You'll see you still have 61,000 remaining in that first SCIF grant project and 2367 in the second SCIF project. And at this point, you may have spent all of that, I'm not sure.
Almost.
Almost. Your property tax schedules begin on page 24 and on page 25, and you tend to have an increase in your valuation, so I always like to look at that from year to year. I did look, your property valuation went up about 23 million from the previous year, which is 3.5%, and it wasn't a revaluation year, that was just growth. Your collection percentage down at the bottom is very similar to the previous year. And then there is a letter on page 26. If we audit you in accordance with government auditing standards, then it means we're looking at internal controls over your financial reporting and also at your compliance with certain laws, regulations, grant agreements, and contracts. And the only item we had here is your lack of segregation of duties, which we talk about every year, and there's nothing we can change. You have safeguards in place, like approving invoices, reviewing bank recs, dual signatures on checks, but it still has to be reported as an audit finding. And then the very last page is your grant schedule that shows you your expenditures for your two grant funds. Almost 82,000 for your first grant and 219,000 for the second grant this past year. So that was a quick fly through over the financial statements. Do you have any questions about the financial statements?
So the legal issues, there was an attorney letter sent to the attorney, and there was no reserve needed for
Right.
that based on their recommendation.
Right. It should be, they didn't see any significant impact on the town as far as your financial statements. Yeah. Also included in the back of that is what's referred to as a governance letter or AUC 260 letter. We are required to communicate with you at the beginning of the audit, which we do through our engagement letter and audit contract, and then at the end of the audit through the governance letter. The standards we audited you under, what we think are your significant estimates and things like that. So you'll see in the first paragraph that our audit was conducted in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and with government auditing standards. You did not adopt any new accounting policies this year. We think your most sensitive estimate is your depreciation for your capital assets. If we had any difficulties performing the audit, if we had any disagreements with management, that would be disclosed in this letter, and I assure you we would have already communicated with management and you report that also. If you have significant adjustments during the year, we disclose those here. Your adjustments are simply to get from modified accrual, which is your budget basis, to full accrual, and Daryl provides us with all that information. So our adjustments pretty much are provided by Daryl. I don't think we had any others to post. Some of our larger towns who have 401k and pension and things like that, there are significant adjustments at year end, but you do not have those requirements. And that is the gist of that letter. And then, because your financial statements are just 1 year, I like to pull out 3 years for you and kind of let you see how you compare to other towns. So tonight I brought that 1-page summary that has 3 years for you. It shows you your cash and some other financial points for the last 3 years. And then that gray shaded area over to the right is how you compare to other municipalities your size. Years ago, the state did that based on population. They've now switched a couple of years back to using your general fund expenditure. So you fall in the group of municipalities in the state of North Carolina that's in the 100,000 to 999,000 for general fund expenditures. And so like on that first line, your total cash for the general fund and your restricted cash for your 2 grants was 913,000 at the end of June. The average for other units your size is 1.6 million. And that's why I hope you've got your reading glasses. I brought these little bitty pages for you so you can see the other units you're being compared to in case it's not all apples, it may be apples and oranges. We also, and the local government commission, look at your fund balance available.
So your fund balance available at June was 617,782. The average for units your size was around 1.2 million. We also look at your fund balance available divided by your expenditures for that year. Like how much fund balance do you have to cover your expenditures? That ratio is one that the state looks at and one we look at. It is 138.84% for you. Other units your size average out to 266.42%. There's a minimum threshold. Years ago, they said it needed to be 8%, which would cover 1 month's cost in the event of emergency. The minimum threshold that the state recommends for a unit your size is 71%. So your 139% covers that minimum threshold. And then in the, right below the middle of the page, you'll see your property tax collection rates for the last few years and how you compare to units your size in the state. Your tax rate was 2 cents, whereas other units your size average out to 18.75% per $100. And then there's some information on your net payable and your grant expenditures for the last 3 years, just so you can kind of have a picture of where you've been the last 3 years.
So I guess, get down the right, in a sense, in other words, our number is quite a bit less than the other municipalities our same size.
Right.
But their property tax is 16 cents more
Right.
than ours, so that's where they're getting their extra money.
Probably.
Probably.
And yours is still adequate, well, very adequate to meet the minimum threshold.
Right.
And you've been able to do that and maintain the 2 cent tax rate. Exactly. And then the last thing I have to go over with you, this is a requirement. The local government commission with the state treasurer's office, the audit contract is between the town, J.B. Watson and Company, and LGC, and they require us to present this financial performance indicators to you. They started this, 4 or 5 years ago, and I'd print you out this 7 or 8 page document that was green and blue and red, and if you had a red column, it meant it was a financial performance indicator of concern, and you were supposed to address that with the state. They've now created a hybrid system this year. We submit your audit through a portal, and then we enter this information through Logos, which Daryl's much more familiar with than I am. That's where he does like the cash investment reports every 6 months and things like that. The state is transitioning everything over to Logos, so next year we'll submit the audit through Logos, which I am not looking forward to. But we take the information from your audited financial statements, put it into this portal and this document that the state has created, and it has this vast database that allows them to provide reports like this so you can know what your fund balance is and how you compare to other towns. They also use this to see, are you performing as you should be? And if you're not, it's what they call a FPIC, a financial performance indicator of concern. So it's a 31-page document when we get said and done with entering everything. And you only need these 2 pages, so that's all I printed for you. But I could gladly provide you with the whole thing if you'd like to see it. At the top, the summary says number of FPICs, and you do 0, and they do 3 years for you also. So you've got 23, 24, and 25. If you had anything in the far right column that didn't say pass or not applicable, I'm not sure what it says. I've not had a unit, I've not submitted anybody yet this year that hasn't passed, but they're coming, so I don't know what happened. I don't know if it says not pass or what. All of your entries over on the right side are pass or not applicable. So you do not have any FPICs. You do not have to follow up with the state about anything that they might be concerned about. But I need to go through this with you very quickly. Under general fund, they have here that calculated fund balance available as a percent of expenditures, and you've met that threshold. They want to know if you use fund balance for the year, did you use it for operation purposes or did you use it for capital purposes? They don't like it if you use it for operations. Yours, I think Daryl and I discussed this, it was for capital purposes. You were making improvements at Town Hall and at the park and on the rental house. If, however, it had not been for capital purposes, LGC would want to know why. Why did you have to use fund balance to cover your operating costs? Why did you not raise your taxes to cover this cost? So they do ask that each year when we fill this form out in Logos. They want to make sure that your fund balance is a positive number, which it is. And then the next two sections on the first page don't apply to you. It's for units that have a water sewer fund or an electric fund. So you can skip that part. The top of the next page wants to know, did you make your note payments on time? And you did. And then the internal control section, did you have any budget violations? You did not. And this might be a little confusing. It asks, did you have any material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or statutory violations? Well, you did have a material weakness of a lack of segregation of duties, but LGC expects that. So if the only finding is the lack of segregation of duties or the fact that the audit firm has helped prepare your financial statements, they don't consider that a finding for this report. So that's why it says you passed there. They want to know if you appointed a finance officer, which you have. Was he properly bonded with North Carolina General Statute requirements? He was. Did your financial statements auditor opinion have an unmodified opinion, which it did? And then the going concern, for those of you who don't know what that is, all businesses and all local governments are considered to be going concerns. It means that you will continue going for the next 12 months. If you were not going to continue for the next 12 months, then there would be a going concern disclosure in your financial statements, and the state would have to know about that. But that is not an issue for you. And then the bottom just, was your audit submitted on time? Did you properly budget your property taxes? And I don't know why, and I've talked to the state and I haven't got an answer back about this. It asks expected property revaluation direction. And the question in Logos asked me, if it was a revaluation year for Union County, did you expect your valuations to increase, decrease, or stay the same? Well, it was not a revaluation year for Union County. So we answered in A, but it populated it as data not available. I'm not sure why. I think their IT people are working on that, but you still passed or in A. And then the only other thing, it says other issues. That would be if we had a management letter that we had presented you. It's not a material weakness. It's not a significant deficiency. It's something that doesn't rise to that level, but it's a recommendation. We think Daryl should do something differently, or Ed or Teresa. If we had other issues and reported those to you, they would be here, and the state would want you to provide some response to our recommendation. So this is a glowing report. You can't really tell it from the format that they made it, but it's a good report. And that is all I have, unless you have questions.
Any questions?
I've got a question. The rent reserve that we have over in the capital section.
Yes.
As we go forward and need to spend money for the park or something like that, I mean, how would that work? We just.
You would just reduce that rent reserve, like I don't remember the amount. Say it's 40-something thousand and you wanted to spend 10,000, you would just do a journal entry that reduced the rent reserve as if you were doing like fund balance appropriated.
Okay.
And then it would reduce it on the financial statements at the end of the year. Because I think you have a general ledger account for that, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You would just take it out of that account.
Okay, gotcha.
And is there a, when that account was set up, was there a,
Probably 2 or 3 years ago.
yeah, was there a, parameters around when it's to
No,
be
I
used
think it's
or
supposed-
how it's
just-
to be used?
Supposed to be used for capital expenditures for the park, that's what I recall.
It's in the minutes. Any specifications, I think, would be in the minutes, but I think it was pretty vague.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Well, thank you. Sounds like it's, sounds like we're doing something right. With that being said, do we, and I can't remember the process, she reported the audit, do we have to,
You don't have to, but you usually just accept it as
I didn't find a
information.
motion to accept the audit as, do we have to do that?
You can.
You
do
can, I
that.
don't know that you have to, but a lot of
Yeah.
people.
What's the
Accept it
have a
as-
motion to make to accept the audit as presented? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the audit, report as presented.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, show up with the hand. All in favor? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Forward to seeing you next year.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Okay, I'm showing down on the agenda, I'm showing number 9, council comments, so I'll start with Patricia, my wife. Do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Thought the Winter Festival was phenomenal. The main other thing I need to speak about, and I left home without my list. We did complete the judging of the lights Sunday evening. We're gonna be awarding a first, second, and third prize, as well as 3 honorable mentions. I have ordered the yard signs, and I'll just have to, I'm afraid I'll make a mistake if I try to name those people.
When you do that, you normally, and I apologize, I haven't kept up to date with it. When you do that, do you have pictures taken, and are those posted on the website?
They will be.
Okay, good.
The pictures were made as we did the judging, and I usually send those to Teresa. There's also been a request that we put out like an addresses and a route that people could take to go and see. So I'll be trying to work with Teresa on getting that done.
Okay. Name. Spencer.
We had our winter festival, I think it was the biggest one we've ever had. Freezing, but it ended up being good weather, at least it wasn't raining. We have our bow making class on Thursday. I think we have over 10 women signed up to do that. And
Can you still sign up?
yeah.
Okay.
I think that's it.
And that's 6 days on Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah, and outstanding. It's, I mean, it just, the thing really stuck out to me was, it seemed like, people would come in and then Santa Claus would show up and then everybody would leave. Well, I had to go to another event, so I left at 5:30 and people were still coming in and hadn't left. And Santa Claus came in about 4:45. So that was good. So yeah, I think it went really well. People seemed to be well pleased, and it was nice to see the different churches getting involved and what was done. Lakeview had a big crew there, starting well early in the morning till closing time, I assume. But thanks for making that possible. I think that it bodes well for Fairview, and I think it's something good. And before I forget, I'll probably forget to get around me in comments. Those aren't aware of it. And our 250th birthday of the U.S. is next July 4th. And I got a call from Chief Price from Lakeview, who's on the town council for Unionville. They're going to do a really big thing in Unionville starting on June the 7th, June the 27th. They don't want to do it 4th of July week. It's the week prior. Nolan Park, they're going to have a drone show, bounce houses. They got a lot going on, so just keep that in scheduling. And we were just talking among ourselves, if offered the opportunity for us to share in some sort of way, or if the town of Fairview to go on, and if we want to add something to what they're already doing, don't be thinking about that if we want to, whatever it might be, if it'll take expenditure on our part, which needs to come up in time to where, see if we want to do it, and if they're okay if we do it. So be thinking about that. But June 27th is when they have theirs, and they got a pretty big budget set aside.
Almost $50,000, isn't it?
Chairman of the board are going to be there. Yeah, so keep that in mind.
This meeting is when we normally do bonuses for Christmas end of the year stuff. So, and last year we did 250 grossed up for taxes, so it ended up being a net of 250 paid to all the staff. So
with that being said, do I hear a motion to do the annual Christmas bonus up to a gross of 250?
the net amount is 250.
Net amount 250. So I have did I say it right? The motion. So do I have a motion?
I move that we provide bonuses for our staff with a net amount equaling $250 each.
Second.
I second.
Now, who all does that apply?
Well, I was just getting ready to ask that. Last year it applied to me, Ed, Michael Starnes, Spencer, Tanya, and Teresa. And of course, I think Lisa's helping us now, so didn't know that she needed to be included in that or not. She's, I think, temporary, but, or part-time.
Well, I mean, I'm not here, I know she's here an awful lot on the discussion phase. Do we want to amend the motion to include Lisa into that as well?
I don't think we have to amend it, just
We can do it.
the employees will stay.
Just,
Y'all have a consensus.
Okay,
All staff.
all staff. So we have, any further discussion? All in favor, shall please hand. Motion passes. Thank you for all you do and what you bring to the town. Anything else, Dale?
No.
February the 7th is our planning review date, planning retreat date, I'm sorry. All of you have responded, and I appreciate you doing so. We'll look forward to that time. If there is anything that y'all want to discuss after we do the agenda, please let me know, but the agenda will be coming out, and I'll give you time to think about it. But we always have a fun time on Saturday morning talking about what we plan to do. It is really the first town I've ever been involved in that plan to do things, and we have a list of things, and we accomplish what we plan. So I think that's important. We've got several things that we need to talk about, and with y'all's help, we'll decide. The main thing, it's still ongoing, that Teresa and I will retire next year. Don't know exactly when. It depends on a lot of things as to who y'all interview to take our places and how long we need to stay after that, but we'll talk about that more in detail at that retreat. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone.
And for those who may not be aware, I know I haven't talked to David Link once in the last couple of weeks, and didn't know why, whether he's traveling, whatever, but I heard it mentioned at church Sunday that Jane's got issues, and I called him yesterday just to check on him. She's got issues back.
Yeah.
And I assumed she must have had something must have come up, unless we got the message since we've been here. I didn't know he wasn't coming today. He told me, when I talked to him yesterday, he was, so, yeah.
One more thing, Mayor. Can I have one more item?
Sure.
You've got two things at your places. One is a map, and one is a document. That is from Michael Harvey, who is doing our land use plan update. If y'all will review that, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just review it. He will talk to you. We're planning to have him at our January meeting. So he's going to update you as to where we are with the UDO, what is to come, and what we need y'all to be thinking about.
And thanks, Dan, and keep us updated what's taking place on our dealings with property in West Duncan. And at this point in time, we're just the lawyers are doing their thing, so they're keeping us up to date, and so we'll see where it goes. I don't know,
I think the next court date is probably going to be somewhere just about Christmas time, because we have to have it served and that type of thing. But we will be putting signs at the bridge that we're talking about, stating that no one can cross that bridge, no commercial operation can cross that bridge by court order.
well, he can.
He can
Personal
personally,
vehicle, that's it.
but nobody else can.
Nobody else can.
And we could actually go put signs, and we've ordered them, on the property.
So they have been ordered. Good.
Yes, they have.
Okay, like I said, that's, I went just to sit in and watch the proceedings a week ago Friday, and he didn't show up. And also I noticed this latest thing going on, in the emails we received, that he's still representing himself, which, and I don't understand why he would do that, because he's now dealing with Melody and the two attorneys from, was it Womble, Carlisle, or Carlisle Womble, who are we're being paid once we meet their deductible through the North Carolina Council municipality. So that's, it won't be as easy as it's been to him in the past to do what he's doing, I don't think.
Two different lawsuits.
Two lawsuits.
Ours against him And then his, why, we don't know, he is against the town and FEMA. So FEMA's gotten involved with their attorney, and the judge ordered at the first one, a mediation, mediation time with the attorneys and the plaintiff, and they had that, but nothing was settled at that point. So it will go to court eventually, and I'm not real sure when. Why he would do that, I don't know.
And with that being said, anything else for the good of the town of Fairview? We'll wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, safe travels home tonight, and I guess the words you've been waiting for is, do I have a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Have a second?
I'll second.
For discussion, all in favor, thank you very much. Like I said, start to say Happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you for what you do for the residents of the town of Fairview.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Oh, I always forget.
Thanks, Neil.
Thanks.
Thank you.